Welcome to Electrified. It's your host, Dylan Loomis. Quick shout out to my newest patron, Jennifer B. Thank you for choosing to support the channel. And to everybody yesterday who took the time to chime in on how I should handle me being on camera, just want to say thank you. Going forward, I think we will mix it up, keep it interesting, and I'll do my best to try to optimize it depending on what material I'm covering, so thank you very much. And to those of you out there that may not love Tesla expanding into Shanghai, just remember to balance out some of the negative things Tesla has to deal with there with all of the good. The cost of labor is much cheaper, it's the biggest market in the world, the government is incredibly supportive, and we have things like this reminding us that the work culture there is very different than it is in America. As Elon said, Chinese EV companies won't just be burning the midnight oil, they'll be burning the 3 a.m. oil. They won't even leave the factory type of thing, whereas in America, people are trying to avoid going to work at all. This morning, we got the CPI reading coming in at 8.3%, slightly higher than expectations. Core inflation coming in around 6%. I wanted to show you this chart though from Lynn Alden. This has the effective federal funds rate in the light blue at 0.8%. Going back to 2020 though, you see the dispersion and exactly what happened. The Fed cut interest rates pretty drastically, paired with printing a historically high level of money. And I guess we should all be saying, well, what did we think was going to happen? So this outcome really shouldn't come as a surprise once again when you pair in all of the supply side issues as well. And I love this chart from Charlie Bolello on Twitter, just showing us where the United States falls in terms of inflation when looking at inflation from a global perspective. And looking at the month-over-month data, now the question everyone is asking, is this drop-off going to signal a peak in inflation? Only time will tell. And looking at the annual data, don't get too excited with this dip because remember, these year-over-year numbers are now coming from a higher base, as April last year we were still over 4% inflation. So as these numbers from last year are higher, the year-over-year figures should slow down somewhat. The main takeaway right now is that over the next year or so, the Fed's goal is effectively to make you feel less wealthy. They're going to keep rising rates. It's going to slow down the economy, less borrowing, less spending, to try to bring down demand to effectively meet supply. And from the stock market side of things, just prepare for volatility. But what have I said for the past few months? I've been rooting for Tesla to go to the 700s. Today we have it, so you already know what I'm doing. And I don't know when the ceiling will be lifted and we'll be off to the races again, whether it's later this year, 2023, 2024, who knows? All I know is at some point it's coming and I want to be ready. And look at this stat. The 7 largest stocks in the S&P 500 as of early January, names listed, have lost a combined $3.2 trillion in market value since January 3rd. That's just over 2 months ago. And this is what I'm saying. At some point, this money will flow back into the market once it gets the green light, whether it's from the Fed, the economy, the supply chain, who knows what they're looking for, but it's coming at some point. Just a quick comment about what Elon said about opening up Superchargers to non-Teslas. He said that Tesla is going to do this because he thinks it's the right thing to do to move EVs forward, even if it means reducing Tesla's competitive advantage. To that point though, I would share a few thoughts. While initially more traffic at supercharger locations might be a pain and a frustration, hopefully there will be limits for certain types of vehicles that charge much slower than Teslas, so they don't sit there for hours. But in the end, think about all of these non-Teslas staring at Tesla's simplified, streamlined charger. They're going to know that they're paying higher rates than Tesla customers are paying. They're going to see these Tesla vehicles up close if they haven't seen them before, and they'll be exposed to at least part of the Tesla app, which will plant seeds in their heads that, hey, maybe Tesla is onto something here. Their charging experience is just so much better than the rest of the industry. And sure, a small percentage of potential Tesla buyers that would have access to the supercharger network in a non-Tesla will indeed opt for a non-Tesla for whatever reason, but overall, I think the net is largely positive, and obviously I left out the biggest reason. This will be a financial incentive for Tesla and ultimately grow the supercharger network faster using the income from these non-Tesla charging vehicles. And if I had to guess, I would say that in North America, Tesla will start including the CCS1 cable separately from the supercharging cable, not using adapters for new stations, maybe retrofitting old ones with adapters, and continually in the rest of the world using the CCS2. too, in addition, of course, to its proprietary connection. And one more comment with regard to what Elon said Tesla might stop taking orders due to ridiculous demand. Yes, we all know the demand for Teslas is through the roof. However, there's another side to the story that no one's really talking about. Don't forget about Tesla's current pricing dilemma. Elon has said that price increases now are in anticipation of raw material costs 6 to 12 months from now. Right now, Tesla is basically guessing what to charge for vehicles that are going to be sold sometimes a year away. Do you know how hard it is to predict costs in this environment a quarter from now, let alone a year from now? If wait times go any further out, Tesla might just want to limit its price forecasting to 1 year maximum. Because think about it, if hypothetically you could remove that entire price forecasting from the equation, it would make sense for Tesla to just keep taking orders, give people a place in line, and then lock them in to some degree and educate them while they wait on the benefits of Tesla once they have a foot in the ecosystem. So of course, if Tesla stops taking orders for new vehicles, then we should expect another spike in the used Tesla market. But just don't forget about this price forecasting game that Tesla is playing. Here we have Panasonic being asked by Tesla to speed up their development of next-gen 4680 batteries, according to its CFO. He said, "We're seeing continued strong demand from Tesla for 2170 batteries, but also for faster development of the 4680. Good news here, as Giga Shanghai is finally back to exporting vehicles from the factory. This the first time since March, a month in which it only exported 60 vehicles. On April 19th, a shipment of over 4,700 cars left for Slovenia. They said Tesla was in a big hurry to load cars freshly off production lines onto the vessel yesterday afternoon. Tesla has also arranged for 4,100 cars to be shipped on Friday, and it's aiming to export 300,000 cars from Shanghai in 2022. And just for some context, Giga Shanghai exported just over 150,000 vehicles for 2021. Here we have an update on the funding secured lawsuit. It's pretty crazy how much of a headache this one tweet is now causing Elon for years. However, a judge says there was nothing concrete about funding coming from the PIF, Saudi Arabia's public investment fund. The judge said rather, discussions between Tesla and the PIF were clearly at the preliminary stage. No reasonable jury could find that Elon didn't act recklessly given his clear knowledge of the discussions. He said details like the total amount of funding needed to take Tesla private or the price to be paid for Tesla were not discussed. And I'm definitely not a lawyer, but I think the billion-dollar question in this case is, did this damage shareholders? And if so, to what degree? And the judge refused to grant shareholders summary judgment on the question of whether or not the allegedly false statements from Elon actually impacted Tesla's share prices. Here we get a report detailing the investigation of what actually happened with that Victorian big battery Megapack that caught on fire, and why I actually think this was a good thing long-term for Tesla. The report says the origin of the fire was Megapack 1, and the most likely root cause of the fire was a leak within the liquid cooling system of MP1, causing arcing in the power electronics of the Megapack's battery modules. However, what's interesting, they said the initial fault condition would likely have been identified and interrupted, either manually or automatically, had these contributory factors not been there. What were they? The supervisory control and data acquisition system for a Megapack required 24 hours to set up a connection for new equipment to provide full telemetry data functionality and remote monitoring by Tesla's operators. Since the Victorian big battery was still in the installation and commissioning phase of the project, not in operation, MP1 had only been in service for 13 hours prior to being switched off via the key lock switch on the morning of the fire. As such, MP1 had not been online for the required 24 hours, which prevented this unit from transmitting telemetry data to Tesla's off-site control facility on the morning of the fire. And as I said, this could be a blessing in disguise for Tesla long-term, because we know that it now has its Lathrop facility producing Megapacks at a scale it never has before, so learning this before they ramp up production could be a good thing. With the transport ministry set to allow driverless parking in Israel, the joke now becomes, now all Israelis get to see how disappointing the Smart Summon feature for Tesla really is. Everyone relax, it's just a joke. Some good news out of Giga Berlin. Economics Minister said just over 4,000 employees have been hired so far, and we know that the target was around 12,000, so about 33% of the way there, at least for phase 1. Half of all employees live directly in Berlin, about 40% in Brandenburg, and 10% abroad. So far at Giga Berlin, EVs have been produced in single shifts, but Tesla plans to introduce a second shift as early as Q2. The third shift will be scheduled depending on the increase in production, and Giga Berlin also also provides places for studying in dual studies. Applications are currently being processed for 145 places under this initiative. If all of these positions are filled, Tesla will become the largest training company in Brandenburg. Asked about FSD Beta 10.12, Elon said probably this weekend. A lot of code updates means much is discovered during testing, and he said release notes on this version will be long. Apple has been awarded a patent for EV charging, where basically you back your EV up toward the charger, get it close enough, line up these two units, and then the charger takes it from there, plugging itself in on its own. I'll include the full patent if you want to read more. But most importantly, Apple's new EV is looking pretty nice. Check this out. Motional, a joint venture between Hyundai and Aptiv, has just announced that their latest driverless Ioniq 5 based robotaxi, a vehicle many people really like, will be available from 2023. The Ioniq 5 robotaxi is an SAE Level 4 autonomous vehicle that can operate without a driver. I had to laugh at this marketing line though. Check this out. We've also celebrated the driverless tech in our exterior design by displaying our suite of sensors prominently. This way, passengers will know right away that they're getting into a driverless vehicle, and we think this will excite them. The real reason is because you just can't hide stuff like this anywhere else. And this suite will consist of over 30 sensors, a combination of LiDAR, radar, and cameras. And we get a fairly bleak report from Toyota citing, yes, material costs. Toyota reporting a 33% drop in fourth quarter operating profit and said it expects materials costs more than double to $11.1 billion in the fiscal year starting in April. And how about this? They said, since the price of materials is rising, we need to work to reduce the amount of materials we use as much as possible and to replace them with less expensive materials. Some first grade logic there. Customers, however, are sensitive to price hikes, said Chief Technology Officer, making it hard for Toyota to pass on rising costs, a feat that Tesla has managed to do successfully. Great tweet from Sawyer. Tesla's operating income was $3.6 billion in quarter one, which was higher than Toyota's, the largest automaker in the world by vehicle volume. Volkswagen is looking to reintroduce the Scout off-road brand in the United States, offering a new electric pickup and sport utility vehicle lineup, according to two people with knowledge on the matter, but they're only looking to invest around $106 million, which isn't much. Volkswagen hoped to eventually sell up to 250,000 Scout branded vehicles annually in the US and begin production in 2026. And that'll do it for today, as it's time to go look around my house for things to sell so I can buy some more Tesla stock. Please take a second to like the video if you did. Hope you guys have a wonderful day, and a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters.